Peace and greetings. Welcome to the Metaphysical Mommy. What's good? I'm your girl Naya, and this video is going to be part 2 of 31 Days of Tarot hosted by Ethany. You can check out the prompts on her YouTube channel. I will link it in the description box below. And so I'm going to jump right into it. This one is not as much filled with decks as it is going to be a floating head talking about some of my experiences. All right, let's jump into it. Number 12. What started you reading tarot and why did you continue to read? I grew up always being interested in all things occult, all things metaphysical. I think it could have a lot to do with just the way my family was growing up, you know, very spiritually inclined. It wasn't, it was very much open discussion when it came to like weird experiences or, you know, synchronicities and all those things that we have words for now that when you're young you just don't know how to express that. You don't know what it's called. But I also grew up playing cards, and I noticed that when we would play cards, I would kind of like watch the cards. Like I was kind of reading cards before I knew I was reading cards. That's the only real way I know how to explain it, because I did kind of get into a mind frame of, oh, that's a bad hand, you know, in regards to like, let's say there being a lot of spades or something like that. I'm like, man, there's gonna be drama this week, or it was just weird. I don't know. I mean, but as far as tarot goes, I was always interested in tarot. I found my first deck when I moved into this place about 5 years ago, and it was like the synopsis in my brain just started shooting off, like, why don't you get yourself a full deck? Because I knew there were supposed to be 78 cards, so I think in my mind I didn't want to jump in when I got my original deck without having the rest of the cards to reference. But anyways, that deck kind of hides when I'm getting ready to move and then reappears when I'm going to stay somewhere for a while. But anyways, aside from that, the books I picked up I found fascinating. And again, I just love all things metaphysical and occult, and divination is a thing that I love, like dream interpretation. Oh God, you name it, I probably dabbled in it a little bit. And you know, but tarot has a special place in my heart. It's just really fascinating the way that it works, the way that it evolves with you, the way that it can be very, it can resonate very much with whoever you are, no matter what background you have. So I think it's really beautiful in unifying people in that way. So for me, every time my mind gets blown because something was so synchronistic with maybe a card that I pulled or and what have you, like it's captivating, and it's anything that can blow my mind, I'm gonna keep on, you know, working with or investigating, because honestly, I'm gonna, you know, that doesn't happen to me enough in the world as it is. And so any opportunity I can to have my mind blown, I'm there. That's where I'm at. So that's why I think I really love tarot specifically, as well as other tools. All right, so number 12 is, or I'm sorry, that was number 12. Number 13 is, what is my best, worst, memorable tarot moment for I think that's supposed to be for 2017. That's a typo. For example, was there a message you were shocked to get or give, or a theme I kept getting, or a deck that surprised you, or a reading that stuck with you? I would say my most memorable reading of this year was one that I did for myself. It was a daily, and I had someone that I knew who was in the hospital, basically you know, kind of, the cards gave me the message that they were, this is controversial to kind of say, but in my heart, I knew my cards were preparing me for her not to be with us anymore. And so that was a really memorable reading that I had this year that really stuck with me. I'm very aware if the cards didn't tell, you know, I didn't make anything happen. It was what it was. And I'm pretty realistic when it comes down to situations like that. Of course, I was hoping for it to turn out for the better, but it was more of a warning of me to prepare myself for, in case it does happen, how things might get affected in my surroundings with my coworkers, because I do work, you know, a regular 9-to-5 job. So yeah, so that really stuck out to me this year. I'll never forget that one. And I did that one with, that reading was with the Morgan Greer. So the Morgan Greer is going to have it has a very special place because it gave such a memorable, you know, reading experience. And I was surprised by that deck because I really didn't resonate with that deck at first. So, but of course, you know, I'm one of those people, like, I'm not gonna, you know, undersell it until I make sure I use it enough. And so I was really using that deck for a while before that particular message came out. And so that deck surprised me in a good way because it gives very clear answers and very clear messages. Number 14, share your favorite divination tool aside tarot. Okay, I can do that. My other favorite divination tool, well, bibliomancy is one of them. I do have a couple of different books that I like to go to for bibliomancy. Some of them, and my other form, I guess, of divination would be astrology. So electional charts, horary charts, or branches of astrology kind of lean towards the side of divination. So yeah, I mean, obviously you guys should know this by now because I'm constantly talking about it. But yeah, so astrology, I really enjoy bibliomancy. And there's actually a couple of really good, like, astrology books that I use for that too. It's so interesting how the things pan out, or how I might pick a particular chapter that talks about a certain, like, transit or a certain like planet and sign, and I'll look on the day's chart and it'll be something that's in play at the moment. So it's fascinating. So that blows my mind too. So I really love that. Those are my other two main defaults as far as divination is concerned. Oh, well, of course, any cardomancy, so playing cards or oracle decks or Lenormand decks or tarot cards. You know, I'm hands down, you know, love my cards. But if I don't have cards, I will pick up the nearest holy book or the nearest book that I think might have some kind of words of wisdom in it and use that to get information on. And what was the other one that I said? Oh, and then astrology, of course, which nowadays is beautiful because there's charts or there's apps for astrology. So it's always easy to kind of play around and see what's going on or what I want to look at. Number 15, do I have a deck for personal use only? Why or why not? So I'm not a complete stickler for personal decks, like to say, like, this is mine and I only read for, it does happen though. But what I'm trying to say is, when I feel called to read for somebody with a deck, and it's a deck that I've never used for anybody else before, I'm not stingy or like refuse to give somebody else a reading. I feel like there's messages there and there's a reason why I'm being called to maybe want to use that particular deck and whatever and what have you. But there are certain decks that I tend to lean towards using for personal use only because the images might be jarring, or you know, it might not necessarily give the information the way that somebody else needs to see it. So I do a lot of video readings, and which means you're able to see the cards, or even if I did email readings, I'd probably take pictures of the cards, but not all images are as nice or as balanced. Like not all decks are as balanced. But I personally love the horror genre and sci-fi genre. So personally for me, I can read with those decks that might seem a little bit more gloomier or a little bit darker and really get some very powerful messages out of them. But I have to be careful because not everybody will intake the information the same way that I might. So those decks have to be read for others with who may be able to, who are okay with it. And so if I feel called, I have to ask, and I just feel like I'm not trying to like freak anybody out. So I refrain from using specific decks based on its imagery for others, just because I'm not sure how it will be received, basically. So in that respect, I guess I do have personal decks that I only use for myself, but I'm not against using it for others when the opportunity presents itself. Do you read reversals? Number 16 is, do you read reversals? Why or why not? Yes, I do read reversals. I don't read them all the time. Okay. If it's Rider-Waite based, I'll read reversals. If it's a deck that I'm learning, a deck that I'm getting acquainted with, I will not read reversals. I want to understand the images as they stand upright first. And once I'm really comfortable with the imagery, I'll go ahead and start working in reversals. So for a standard Rider-Waite deck, I'll definitely use reversals. But it also depends if I'm trying to, it depends on the nature of the reading as well. If no questions are asked and they want a general reading, like what do the cards have to say, I may not include reversals, and I will opt for working on a technique, reading the cards using a technique versus using specific spread positions. So I kind of play it by ear and kind of use my intuition to kind of guide me as to when I should and shouldn't read reversals. That works for me, and whether I read with them or not, I seem to get pretty accurate readings. So yeah, I read reversals for the most part, but not always. So I hope that helps clarify something for people. But if it falls out the deck upside down, even if it's the deck I'm working with, I feel like the message is supposed to be that way, so I'll interpret it that way. So yeah, it's one of those cases for me. Okay, number 17 is a draw, paint, or sketch your favorite tarot card. I'm going to make a separate video for that one because that's going to take some musing and some time and getting into a zone and all that kind of good stuff. So I'll make a separate video for number 17. Number 18, and I will link it in I'll put it on the playlist anyways. Okay, so number 18, share one of the new things that I learned about tarot in the last year. It's okay. So one of the things that I learned about tarot in 2017 has to be the realization or learning that Crowley actually created a religion based around his deck. Or his deck was supposed to be used as a tool for it. Don't quote me on exactly on that, but I do know that he did create a religion. And I know, so I didn't know that going in, since this year I want to start, using the Thoth deck and all that kind of stuff. Me being the way that I am, I went ahead and, figured out what some resource books are and trying to, jump into that wormhole of tarot business. And yeah, when I found that out, I was just kind of like, it took me aback a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. I was kind of like, oh, okay, there's actually a religion, I believe, is the Thelema thing, which is why the Thelema deck people have issues with, because it's not based on the Crowley teaching. So now I kind of I learned those kinds of things based off of that, and maybe, you know, where that issue was coming up. So I've been doing some studying, and I just found that really interesting and really fascinating. And it makes me curious. Like, it just gave me a lot to chew on. It gave me a lot of food for thought, just because, you know, it almost seemed like, well, why are there so many Rider-Waite-Smith clones, or books using that as the primary source of the Rider-Waite-Smith as a primary source of imagery when it comes down to it. And aside the fact that the Thoth Tarot was made, you know, years later from the Rider-Waite-Smith, that it was almost very protected doctrine, kind of, in a way, or school of thought, or the fact that it was a religion. Not saying, you know, you have to jump through hoops and hurdles, but just more of the sense that they were created with specific intention in mind. So therefore, maybe there's not maybe a lot of room for people to kind of go off and do their own thing without kind of understanding the rhetoric and all of that kind of stuff there. So yeah, so I found that really, really fascinating, but it answered a lot of questions that I kind of had, you know, regarding the Rider-Waite-Smith and the Thoth, and, you know, that whole dynamic there when it comes down to it. Very interesting stuff. Very interesting stuff. Number 19. Which tarot deck out there gives you the heebie-jeebies? I guess this kind of goes back to question 16. I'm sorry. Question 15. You know, which deck out there gives me the heebie-jeebies? I really haven't found one that really, like I don't want to use it, you know? But there are a lot out there that intrigue me. I'm not... I don't know. The only heebie-jeebie decks, I don't know. I don't think I've had a deck give me the heebie-jeebies before. Even ones like, you know, that have really strong imagery, that have really in-your-face imagery, they don't give me the heebie-jeebies. They're intriguing to me. And like I said, I think it's because I just grew up on the horror genre and the sci-fi genre, that I let my imagination go with it and just go, okay, what's happening here? If I'm looking at this particular character as if they were human, as if they were intelligent, as if they were experiencing whatever it is, what's happening? How, you know, how deep is that? And so, yeah, I don't. Now, do I have decks that I feel have the potential to give the heebie-jeebies to others? For me, yes. I own decks that I feel that have the potential to give other people the heebie-jeebies. God, I can't speak. So this would be a deck like the Deviant Moon Tarot. Okay, like the Deviant Moon Tarot. Some people love that deck. Some people get the heebie-jeebies from that deck. So I never know whether or not I want to use it with people, just because I don't know what camp they fall into. Again, it'd be one of those things I'd have to kind of figure out, or give a choice to whether people, you know, want to use it. I have the Vertigo Tarot. That's another one that some people might not necessarily, they might feel kind of funky about. The Baphomet Tarot. Beautiful 22 majors. Like, oh my god, it is so good, guys. It is really, but only if you have an eye for things that are kind of sci-fi and surreal and almost alien kind of thing going on. But it's really cool deck. I really, really love it, but again, wouldn't use it for everybody. The Marielle could potentially be another deck that might give people, well, I don't want to say the heebie-jeebies, but people get really strong reactions from the Marielle Tarot. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I just think it's a very profound thing. I think people need to explore that. Or sometimes people don't resonate with decks with, you know, full nudity. I don't know. Everybody gets the feels from different kind of imagery, artwork, and things like that. So because I am an art lover as well, it's as a reader, I have to be mindful of, you know, what are people coming to me for. It doesn't make sense to put some really profound and strong image on display while I'm reading for them when they may not receive that well. You know, the whole point of doing a reading is to help people, not to it is to help people and not completely jar them. Not completely like make them like, I never want to come back to her again because that was the creepiest deck I ever seen. You know what I mean? It needs to genuinely resonate for the person before I would, you know, use it, kind of deal. So anyways, that kind of works there. But if I find a deck that gives me the heebie-jeebies, I will make a video about it. I promise I will. But until then, I can't, you know. No, see, I get different feelings, but never like chill heebie-jeebies. Like when you say, when I hear heebie-jeebies, I'm thinking like your hairs are standing on end, and it's just like, we know, like you don't even want to touch it. You want to like stage your whole house and like chuck it in the, you know, chuck it outside somewhere, burn it, or, you know, like if I'm feeling like heebie-jeebies, I'm like want to destroy whatever it is that's giving me the heebie-jeebies. So I know that's a little bit extreme to say over a tarot deck or about some artwork, but that's how I would feel if I found a deck like that. Get it out of here. Number 20, share one tarot myth you used to believe and why you stopped believing it. I think most of the myths that I've ever heard in life I always questioned. I never really was one for taking things at face value. If there was like a myth or something about something, like I always tried to understand why, or what was the significance of that myth, and how has it lasted as long as it's have lasted, and maybe what is the wisdom in that myth and things like that. I know one of them that stuck out to me was you weren't allowed to read for yourself. I don't think I necessarily resonated with it anyways. Like I heard it and I was like, please, I ain't got nobody else to practice on but myself, so I'm practicing, you know what I mean? So that was just me. I don't think I really believed any of those tarot myths wholeheartedly, but that's just the kind of individual that I'm in. I never take anything at face value. I can't. So that's one, but there's a lot of them out there that, you know, might, if I muse on them a little bit more, maybe I could find, you know, hidden wisdom within those myths, and maybe that's why they've been carried into our generation now, where they're still alive and thriving as like rumors, you know, or myths based on tarot, such things. I mean, I've heard all kinds of things like you can't read for yourself, or you have to steal your first deck so it'll work for you, or you have to be gifted a deck before it'll work for you. And actually it's funny because I heard you can't buy yourself, basically you have to be gifted a deck well after I purchased my first or my next set of decks, like when I first started getting back into tarot. So I read it afterwards and I was like, well, so far I'm having, actually things have been looking better than ever, so that just threw that right out the window for me. So yeah, that's my story, and that's how it works. All right. Share some of your favorite deck storage. So as you can see, I have most of my decks in their boxes on this bookshelf behind me. But some of my favorite storage that I found, I found it this year too. It's from a store on Etsy called Tarotista. And Susan makes these really cool Arcana cases. So this is my, cat's getting to it. Okay. This is my Centennial Rider-Waite. So as you can see, this is a really pretty fabric. She can customize, make them for you. There's all kinds of different silks and brocades. Fabulous, fabulous stuff. And I can't sew, so this for me was heaven sent. It looks really pretty on a shelf, or if it's in a box and you don't have like the drawstrings and stuff that go in it, they get in the way or they get damaged or knotted and things like that. Of course I do have drawstring bags. I'm not 100% against them, but on a shelf or in my purse, I like to know that my cards are kind of secure. So this is a clamshell opening. So you would just pull it up and it opens like that. You could pull your deck out. The inside is lined in white silk. You could pull out your cards. They fit in there like perfectly. And there's even a little slit, sorry, in the front that you can see, that you can add your card of the day to keep it separate from the pack. So if you want to keep referring to it, you can. So I don't know if you guys were able to see that before, but it's right there. So like I said, it's they're custom made. It fit, you know, basically they fit like a glove in here, and I love them. I have a few different ones. I have one for my Tabula Mundi. I have them. I purchased these for decks that I know like don't have a box for them, or that I know I'm gonna reach for over and over again. I purchased some of these. I'll leave the description or I'll leave the link to the Tarotista Etsy shop in the description box below for you as well. So she makes these Arcana cases. And here's another one that I have. Very beautiful. Again, like I said, many different kinds. And she also makes these Arcana zip pouches. So these are big enough to fit. I have the Shaman's Oracle in this one with its little guidebook, and it fits in here just perfect. It doesn't scuff. So if you have these or have a deck that's around roughly these dimensions, this deck will fit inside one of these Arcana pouches, or zip pouches, excuse me. Same fabric that you see on the website, you can pick from and choose from and get you know, put decks in here. These are cheaper. The zip pouches are cheaper than the Arcana cases, so I figured I'd probably pick up a few more of the zip pouches just to have as interim when I'm working with specific decks. I could keep them inside a zip pouch, you know. Yeah, and that's pretty much how I like it. I usually keep them in the original boxing if I can, if it's, you know, a tug box or something like that. If I know I'm gonna reach for it and that tug box is gonna get worn down real fast, you know, I found the Tarotista shop. I'm probably, that's gonna be my go-to place moving forward. Once I know I've kind of like this deck ain't going nowhere. I'm never gonna sell it. Even if I start reading tarot, God for heaven forbid that happens, that these decks will still be with me, kind of deal. All right, and since that's 21, this will be 12 to 21. I'm gonna go ahead and leave this video right here. I'm already hitting 30 minutes. So guys, thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you don't miss the next installment of 31 Days of Tarot. And I hope you guys are having a wonderful new year so far. Make your dreams happen. Tarot and let tarot. Much love. Many blessings. Peace.